All right, folks. This is a little bit different than normal. The episode that you're about to hear was recorded in July, about July 9th, 2022. And I'm replaying this episode because it's got some strong meaning right now. Jessie Lee Ward was the guest of this episode of the podcast. And for those of you who don't know, Jessie passed away a couple days ago, unfortunately, at the very young age of 34. And it's I think this is just the honorable thing to do. The least I can do from my perspective is to share a little bit more of her brilliance and how important she was and the person she was, and how she positively impacted millions of people with the work that she did in the short 34 years that she was on the planet. So I'll just give some brief intro here before we dive into the episode. But you're going to hear a lot about Jessie and her story in this episode. We had a really good, fantastic conversation. You learn about her and her team and how she likes to go above and beyond taking care of those people. She understands that her businesses wouldn't have been where they were without the team that she had to eventually go out and build, and also check her ego at the door. And ego is a real big thing. We all have it. It's a defense mechanism for most of us. And oftentimes as we grow and self-develop, we have to learn to let go or lower that ego. And it finally got to a point where Jessie Lee had began to do so. And I noticed that shift because the first time I met her was probably 2, maybe 3 years prior to recording the podcast you're about to hear. Met her at a private event at this really fancy, high-end, very modern home in Dallas. We were there for a small group of people were invited, and just some real players were in the room, and it was a really cool experience. And she walks in. I had never seen her. I had just moved to Dallas. And here comes this loud, almost obnoxious chick, all dressed up, leather pants, just dressed to the nines. And sure as shit, she walked in from outside and she pulled up in this Lamborghini Urus, purple Lambo Urus. And it was an eye catcher. And on the side of this Lambo, she had her logo and her hashtag, I'm Boss Lee all over it, which I thought was awesome. And she's going to talk about that in this episode too, the importance of why she started to brand and actually put her name on her cars. She was a big car collector, loved supercars, fast cars, had a bunch. And you'll hear about that. But that first iteration, the first time that I met her, I immediately determined that I did not like her. Okay. I judged her really hard. And the initial interaction that we had, we kind of rubbed each other the wrong way, and not so nice of a way. And all right, cool, whatever. Like, I don't know this person from a hole in the wall. It is what it is. Boom, let's move on. And over the course of the next couple of months, weeks, months, years, we kept bumping into each other because we ran in similar circles. And the more that I got to see her, the more that I got to see her speak, the more that I got to see her interact, the more that I got to see her show up as her true, authentic self, the more I began to respect the shit out of her, to the point where I invited her to be a guest on the podcast. And this podcast was recorded when I was a BFA, and we did it in the studio there. And I finally had a chance to sit down face to face with her and really dive into what makes her tick as a human being. And it was just a brilliant conversation between the two of us. A couple months prior to that, we had flown down on a private jet to Cabo for a mastermind. And she sat, a seat or two over from me. And she wasn't even a seat. It was just this bench. And she just laid there and took a nap and was just herself. And it was really cool to see her, without the lights and the camera and the social media persona, just to really see who Jessie Lee was. And she'll be the first one to tell you as you listen to this podcast that Jessie Lee was a much different person than I am Boss Lee. And Boss Lee was basically her alter ego that she put on when she'd go and do live videos and get busy on social media. So I want you guys to take a listen to this episode. This is a tribute to the late Jessie Lee Ward. We weren't the closest of friends, but we sure as shit respected the hell out of each other. And I will tell you this, after this podcast was recorded, Jessie and I stayed in touch heavily. And every couple of weeks or so, we would just send texts back and forth and check in on each other. And seeing what she was able to do in the short time that she was here on this planet, the people that she was able to positively impact. Look, when you got big name people like Ed Milet coming around, and Ed was her coach, by the way, Ed Milet coming around and saying, Jessie Lee Ward is the hardest working person I've ever met or known in my entire life. that means something. So pay attention to it. And I hope you guys get some value out of this. And do me a favor, if you got something from this, go out, repost it, tell other people to come and look at this, just to honor the woman that she was, because she was really, truly one of a kind. And the world is surely going to miss her. Welcome back to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, I've got an awesome guest in here, Miss Jessie Lee Ward. And give a little story here. I like to tell stories. I don't know if you do. Oh, God. Should I be nervous? Nope. Okay. First time we met was about a year and a half ago. And there was an event, and it was at Kurt Linnington's house. And you rolled up, and you had a badass ride. We'll talk about those in a minute. And we had a quick interaction, and I left, and I was like, man, I don't know about that one.
At least you're being honest. Off to a great start. That's going to be a good show. Oh, Lord.
I just, that's the way I roll. Mm-hmm. But as time progressed, you kind of came in, we interacted a lot more. We spent time in Cabo together. And it was like, oh, wait a second. Maybe the first reading I got from the badass Jessie Lee was a bit off, and let me reassess and think, just check it out. Yeah. And the more that I kind of jumped in and looked at you and what you're doing and the way that you run your companies and take care of your people, I was like, oh, wait a second. Oh, cool. I get it now, right? You're just, you move fast, you're direct, you're hard charging. And I'm cool with that. So.
Well, I love that. Thanks for the honesty. Yeah, good way to break the ice right off the bat. Maybe I need to work on that first impression. I had a mentor who said, he said, God's not judging you, but people do judge you. So be careful with your first impression. So
it's true.
Work on that.
No, it's good. It's all good for real. So let's dive in a bit here.
Sure.
You've got a massive following on multiple social media platforms. Mm-hmm. You're known as one of the, if not the most influential or top network marketer on the planet. Mm-hmm. Where the fuck did all this start and come from?
Oh, God. Well, I think anything in your life starts really far back in the past, if being totally honest. So everything that's happening for you is happening, or everything's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And if you start to look at your life like that, things start to change. Mm-hmm. Didn't have a great upbringing at all. I often will say I wouldn't wish my childhood on anybody, but at the same time, I know that's why fundamentally I am who I am. I got thrown in leadership positions when I was 9. And then I had to pretty much be mom, right, for my brothers when I shouldn't have had to be. So, but all of that set me up for, okay, this is happening so that I'd be a better leader here, or this is happening so I'm more compassionate here, or this is happening here so I'm more driven here, or I don't have a love of money, but I know that money's power. That came from seeing what it's like to have no money and come from nothing, because I was raised in poverty. I'm a totally different generation, and I'm 33, but I don't talk like I'm 33. I don't act like I'm 33. I don't really relate to people that are my age, but I was raised by my grandparents. So I'm like a different generation in a lot of different ways like that. But I jumped into entrepreneurship 11 and a half years ago because I needed to pay rent, and there was no gig economy, right? You can't Uber Eats, you can't DoorDash, you can't whatever. There's none of that.
The low-hanging fruit wasn't there.
It doesn't exist. Yeah. So the smallest stuff you could do was like babysitting or whatever, and that's it. And so I was like, well, that's not even enough money to pay what I need to pay. So I Googled at-home businesses that make the most money. A direct sales company popped up. I joined the first opportunity. Yeah. No one offered it to me, which is like a big red flag. Like, offer the opportunities and the things you're selling and whatever else to people, because nobody ever invited me to anything. They thought, oh, she wouldn't go to this. And it just started steamrolling. I made full-time income in the first couple months, so I did get actually fired from my job. I'm not a very good employee, but I was making enough money, though.
It's funny, I had that problem too.
Yeah, I think a lot of if you are constantly getting fired, that might be like, here's your sign. Yeah. But yeah, that just spiraled into, it was a full-time income, made $55,000 my first year. And when you're 22 years old and you're making $55,000, you think, oh my God, this is so much better than working behind a desk. And then my first full year in entrepreneurship, I made 6 figures, and I was still a kid, which meant I had a lot to learn. Yep. Oh my God, my ego, just out of control. Yeah. And then it turned into network marketing in 2015 is when I joined my first network marketing company, and the rest is kind of history.
I get that ego thing. I started my first business. I was either 20 or 21, right? Started a custom car audio business and was installing that stuff, and
with the straight lines,
like straighter than that right there, because that right there
is this driving you crazy? You need to tape these wires down.
Yeah, it's not perfect. No, so I've gotten a lot better than I was. Okay. My OCD used to be like crazy levels. And now it's kind of like, I understand that that's not going to help me get anywhere further in life, and I can ignore it.
Yes.
And it took a lot of working on me to figure that out. So anyway, I start this business, and one of the first things that started pumping up my ego was, here I am, 21, 22 years old. And, you go out, you interact with other humans, you're like, hey, what do you do? And I was able to say, oh, I'm a business owner. Right? And, oh, I'm a business owner. Well, no, I was a good technician who knew nothing about business. And within the first 5 years, I crashed and burned that motherfucker to the ground. Right? I didn't know anything about people, culture, systems, processes, accounting. So I didn't know nothing about that shit.
Sure.
So now we're 5-6 years later, and now at this point in time, I'm back to being an employee for somebody because I need to make some income and get back on my feet. And someone says, hey, Tom, what do you do for a living? And I got to be like, oh, I'm the 12-volt manager at an automotive store. That was like the biggest kick to the dick I've ever experienced in my life. I'm being dead serious with you.
I know, I just like I've ever heard that before.
Right? So
I
it's
can't
like,
say it, but it works really well for you.
Never mind. I'm not touching that one. So that was, when you talk about ego at a young age, when you start making some income, you start having a little bit of success, and then all of a sudden, in my case, it was like ripped away to my own doing. And now I got to go back and people ask what I do, and it's like, oh, I don't have that ability to say I'm a business owner. And I lasted 3 years working for somebody. That's my record, by the way. I never worked for someone more than 3 years ever.
Like a 6-monther over here. That was like my record.
And anyway, 3 years I went back in and started business number 2, which did pretty well. But enough about me. Let's kind of dive back into
I love that, actually. There was a lot of lessons in that. And I remember when I was probably in my 20s, right? Like young 20s. And somebody said something, like shared a similar story like that to me. Kind of like I don't want to say it was a warning or something, but they're like, hey, like God has an interesting way of humbling you. And, just, I know, like, easy come, easy go. But I'm like, no, not me. And I did this with a lot of things. For sure, business. I said, no, not me. I'm never going to ruin a business. And then investments. I would hear people losing, $1 million here, $100,000 here. And I'm like, never. How would you lose $1 million? Yeah. And they were right. It's like God has an interesting way. I had a business that completely fell apart in 2017, along with pretty much my whole life. I've lost millions of dollars in investments, but I don't like to look at it as a loss. I'm like, you learn a lot in that makes you just an absolute weapon when something else comes your way. Yeah. But no, I think like yourself, every successful entrepreneur, we've got stories, and if you think that you're immune to failure, this is me warning you on this podcast. Something is going to set on fire. Yeah. It might be your personal life because you think that you've got it all under control because your ego's crazy. If you literally just said, I'm not egotistical, I'm talking to you. Yeah. Okay. You're the one with the crazy ego. Because I was like, no, I'm a servant-based leader. And I was, but I was still very, whatever. Life has an interesting way of evening it out. But, fuck yeah, it does. Learn lessons and grow.
So February of this year, my wife found out that she had breast cancer, right? So it is what it is. Everything's going fine. I've talked about it here on this podcast countless times. But everything was going all hunky-dory. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's the monkey wrench.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about network marketing because you probably get this shit all the time. And you're probably going to be like, oh, God. A lot of people have a bad outlook or a bad take on it. And they're like, I tried that. I tried this. Meanwhile, you and I both know that they really didn't try because if they did, they'd probably be in your shoes or close to it. But what's the whole take there? How do you kind of overcome that obstacle when like you're trying to recruit people onto your team to kind of overcome it?
Well, you just nailed it, the word obstacle. In any kind of business, any kind of sales, any kind of anything, there's obstacles. And so if you go into entrepreneurship thinking, it's going to be hunky-dory, like you said, get ready. It's coming. Something's coming. It doesn't matter if you're selling car parts, right? Oh, those car salesmen, they're scammers, everything. Everyone is going to have something. And it's more of a reflection of what those people think about themselves. And as soon as you start to understand all of these, anytime someone's just punching you, it literally has nothing to do with you. Yeah. And I could say that 5,000 times and someone needs to hear it the 5,000th and first time. So I don't actually mind talking about it because I think it's actually something I've probably put on this earth to do is bridge the gap between the two. Because I'm a serial entrepreneur. Yeah. I'm the number one network marketer in the world. Well, how do I fill the gap? So people go, oh God, no, she knows business. Holy crap, I need to stop saying whatever about network marketing. I mean, like Stuman, our very good friend, obviously both of us. First time I met him, he's talking shit about network marketing. I'm like, oh God, well, here we go. He didn't realize, but a lot of people don't. So here's the fact. The fact is, a lot of people have a bad view of network marketing because a lot of network marketers do a really terrible job at being network marketers. They oversell, they underdeliver, which is like sales 101. Don't do that. They promise that it's going to be super easy. It is not easy. It is simple. They say there's going to be no obstacles. There's no this. There's no that. It's. They make it look like you join, you sign up, and then you're a millionaire. Yeah. And the people who make millions of dollars, not just in this, but in anything in the world, are people who do not have remotely that mindset. I went into this and I said, okay, I'm going to learn this from a business perspective. Right. And it was something very different than the people who go, oh, how do I chase and replace? How do I scam people? How do I, hey hun, hey girl, in every single email inbox it used to be. Oh God, I'm aging myself, God. And then it was like random phone calls and now it's Instagram DMs. It's like that doesn't convert. And so I just turned it all on its head and I said, there's all these things that are absolutely wrong with this profession, right? But the business structure, there's nothing wrong with that. Correct. You are compensated for selling. Yeah. You are compensated for showing people an opportunity. And the only way that I make money in millions and millions and millions of dollars a year is because I train those people to be a sales force. Yeah. Period. I incentivize them just like I do in my other businesses. I build a culture around it just like I do in my other businesses. I teach people social media marketing strategy, regular in-person marketing strategy, branding strategy, sales strategy, recruiting strategy, culture strategy, scaling strategy, everything like a real business. Yeah. And at first people were like, who is this girl? Why isn't she whatever? And I'm like, because you guys are training network marketing like it's something unique, and it's not unique. It's just a different compensation structure. Yeah. So if you instead, I was the one consuming all the business greats. I wasn't consuming the best network marketers in the world. I was like, no, like I don't care about these Joe Schmoes. Like I want to learn from somebody who has a $1 billion business that's ground up, started for $400. I don't know, call it an apparel company or call it a car company like you were talking about, or a watch company, or it doesn't matter. Yeah. And what principles did that business owner put in place in order to scale their business? And so people used to say, she's too aggressive. Which I can be, right? She's too aggressive. She's too.
Get the fuck out of here.
I know, right? A wrong podcast. I'm like loving this, right? She's too aggressive. She's too goal oriented. In order to get her time, she's making you do these assignments. She's making you have these standards. And I'm like, if you don't have standards in your business, then you're never going to have a business. You're going to keep churning and burning these recruits who you brought in saying it was going to be super easy, super simple. They're going to get burned out. They're going to buy a crap load of inventory. We don't do the inventory thing. I don't like that. Like, you don't need it, right? If you're going to sell the business as something that has no overhead, then why all of a sudden are they spending $1,000 a month on inventory? That is not what you sold them. But now you're kind of Scooby-Dooing them, on the back end. I don't do that to people. Yeah. But I led with education and business education. Yeah. So now we have literal weaponized people on our team. And it's not about getting rich, which you can totally do in network marketing. My concept was, how do I teach you how to get wealthy?
All right, so hold on a second here.
I know there was a lot there.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So what I picked out of there was the last bit is, yes, you're a business owner, right? And now you don't own the network marketing company, right? You are under that umbrella. Yep. Okay. But what you have done, clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, this is my assumption, you have become an educator, a very high paid teacher. That's it. Like, you train your people. Yeah. And you build culture.
Yeah. So building the culture. Yes, you're right. I think well, I can unpack that a lot too, but I basically built a company inside the company. So I love the company. I treat them like a distributor. Okay. So they are the ones who manufacture. They're the ones who pay the overhead of the light bill, the whatever. They pay all this stuff, and they are the ones who make. And it is a legitimate company. It's all incorporated and whatever. Sure. But they are the ones who we're actually running the empire. Yep. So this entire company inside a company, then it's, okay, what are our core values? And I know you're big on core values, of course. Like, so what are your core values? What are you driving here? What are your ethics? What do you want the culture to look like? And so we built that inside of it, and then absolutely educate. You can't, the reason you're successful is not because you one day woke up and it's like, I don't know, God granted you the wisdom or something, in the sense of, I'm trying to say, like, all of these things, you have because you chose to learn. So if I have the gift of teaching, and if I have the gift of being able to educate, and if I am great at storytelling and all the coaching and all this stuff, well, then why wouldn't I teach somebody how to do what I do?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
My belief too is this, in my experience, is that when you have to go and learn something yourself, right? You have to do it. Then when you get to the point where you bring team members in and you start to train, I got a process that I go through, and I've stolen this from somebody else. I'm not taking credit for it.
Sure.
It's do it, document, delegate.
Love it.
And just repeat it over and over again. Do it, document, delegate.
Love that.
So you got to go in there and do it so you understand it enough. You document it, whether it's video like this, whether it's, type out a quick fucking note, doesn't make a difference. Perfect. And then you can delegate to your team. But part of that delegation involves you teaching and training your people. When you teach and train your people, you understand what you learn yourself at an even greater intrinsic level.
That's the best way to learn, is to teach.
Yeah.
And so people that are listening maybe are shy around that. Like, anything you learn, just go and teach it, whether it's a written post, a reel, a TikTok, or whatever, or a live video, or in front of people. But then it becomes something inside of you.
Yeah.
And that's when you actually start to learn it, and the only way you're going to scale, you mentioned delegate is the third step of that. The only way you scale anything is by delegating. And take it from me, I took way too long to delegate stuff. I was like, oh, but I can do it better. Yeah. Okay, maybe so. But how much time do you have in a day? And how much is your mental sanity worth, right? Because a lot of us alpha type A people, like, we run ourselves straight into the ground. And then we wonder why, like, our whole life is set on fire. A lot of people will lose their entire personal life. Their marriage falls apart. Their kids don't like them. They're whatever. And their business looks good. Well, that's not success.
That's just one pillar.
Yeah.
That's just one pillar. It's not all of it. Yeah, I've been there personally. I've been the point where, hey, the business is doing good, but me personally and physically, mentally, emotionally, is a complete shit show. Like 315-pound Tom versus 270-pound Tom sitting in front of you is a way different human, right? And I'm not talking a good 315 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay? Plus, at the same point in time, I was, and it took my awesome wife basically breaking down in front of me. Mind you, picture this. We're living in New York still. I'm in an average ass house at the time because that's what I could afford at that point in time. The business is doing pretty good. My wife had just retired from work because the Lord blessed us with twins on round 2. So all of a sudden it was like, well, fuck, you're not going back to work. There's too much shit to do, and I'm not giving my kids off to somebody else to go parent, right? I don't think that's a responsible thing to do as a parent, my opinions and beliefs. So I'm sitting there, and it's dinner time. I just came back in, and my company at the time, we installed GPS tracking devices in commercial vehicles.
Okay.
On the road a lot. We used to go to the customer's location to do the work.
Wow.
Right. And on the road a lot, finally get back, and I'm sitting at the dinner table, just incessantly replying to emails nonstop, like, eat a scoop of food. I got one kid over here with fucking spaghetti flinging all over the place. The other one's got a bowl of Cheerios upside down, like on top of the head with milk all over. And my wife is sitting there like this, with her hands, her face in her hands, and she's just like breaking down. And that was like, bingo. Okay, clearly I fucked up. Let's have a conversation.
Sure.
And it was funny. That was right around the same time that I started coming in here, learned about, practicing gratitude, putting some health in front of everything else in your life, like take care of you first kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it was a slow process, but it took me a good, let's call it 2.5, 3 years to really start to see some results from that. But I'm kind of a hard-headed asshole.
Yeah.
You're probably familiar. But
I'm cut from the same cloth sometimes.
I
must admit,
if I decide to do something and I made up my mind, like, good luck. You're not changing my mind. Right. So, and I had made up my mind to take care of me a bit more.
Yeah.
And
it's
worked out for the
important
better.
though, like the pillar of health in general, I think people take really, like, it's a joke sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know it's not convenient. I think we all know it's not convenient, but it trickles into every single little thing. Like the quality of life you can have with your children because of this, your wife because of this. I've heard Ryan tell the story, like, oh, I was gonna say fat fuck and da da da. I'm like, geez, man, oh my God, and he's like, look at him now. I'm like, yeah, it looks good. But it changes everything. It changes your outlook on life. It changes your energy throughout the day. It changes your levels of happiness, quite frankly. And then of course that just spills into everything. Your business is different. Your employees look at you differently. Like, I knew something was off. I'm like, I am getting snappy. Like something is wrong. And then literally today, it's funny I'm here, but I keep talking about it to people because I'm like, y'all gotta get your health in check. But I spent $11,000 on every health test known to man.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I'm crashing at like weird hours in the day, and everything's fine, like I'm eating right, whatever. And we got my results back today, and this doctor who's like famous, right? So he's like with all these celebrities and whatever. He like scrolls down to the cortisol part, and I want the recording of his face, because he's like, I've never seen cortisol levels that high in my entire life. And I'm like, uh-oh. He's like, girl, you're running too hard, or like, we got to handle all this stuff. And so sometimes, you might think you feel good, or like you look good or whatever, but you got to take care of you. So I actually, this timing's perfect. I go on my first vacation of my life tomorrow, which I know sounds nuts, but
I want to talk about that.
I need to chill a little bit.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for sure. Common problem I see in the entrepreneurial world, and the reason that I know this so well is because I've fucking done it myself 1,000 times.
Sure.
You have so much going on in your life, your business, your team, all that crap, and you feel guilty when you like your schedule gives you that like 3-hour window to go fuck off and do nothing. Yeah. And yet you feel guilty, like, oh my God, I should really be doing something right now.
Yeah.
And I heard this from somebody else a bunch of years ago, and the fix that they suggested to me was block time in your calendar, time off for you. And because it's now block timed in your calendar, you supposedly won't feel as guilty when you take the time off. That has definitely helped somewhat for me, but I still have trouble turning off. I still have trouble. I don't know, man. I'm just a hard charger. Hey, I don't care what day of the week it is. If something needs to get done, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, doesn't make a difference. Like, let's just go fucking do it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the business owner side of me, and it's just the way I've always been. But how do you turn off? Or that's the reason that you're in this situation. And
there's I can give you, so it's funny. Yeah, we're definitely cut from the same cloth, like I said. I've got the stuff in my calendar, so I don't know if anyone listening to this is like, man, I've done that. It's in my calendar. It says to breathe. It says to walk. It's like, man, yeah, me too. Keep catching myself like, oh, this is the time of day I'm supposed to give gratitude. Okay, I'm grateful. Let's go. I go through my gratitude list, and I'm like, all right, now I gotta, like I'm just such a whatever. And it goes back to that whole delegation thing, though. It's like it's a practice. I'm getting so much better at it. Like, no, I'm not doing this. No, and I'll text someone's name. Like, go to this person. This is not my job. It's not my job. It's not my job. Yeah. So I'm getting a lot better at that for sure. But. Yeah, there's a couple things. So I read a book called Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. I don't agree with her and everything, but I agree with her concept on I agree with her concept on shame. And I was just reading this book, and you don't have to read the whole book. This is enough. Just listen to this podcast. So she was talking about how most of us do things in our life based off of how we think we're supposed to be. And I was like, what? And she literally went through it. Like, you say no to stuff you want to say yes to because you're afraid of what people are going to think. And I'm like, this is 2 years ago, man. So I'm already this multi-millionaire, face of whatever, have the cars, have the, like whatever, traveling the world with business, like all this stuff. And I'm like sitting there in a relationship at the time where I'm like, I don't want to be in this relationship, but I'm in this relationship because social media likes it. But I realized my whole life was run by this. And that was the first time I said, I break up with them. I get on a plane literally the next day, not on vacation, but I went to do business then in Europe for the next like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. And I said yes to everything I wanted to say yes to. And it was the most, like, I think I could feel my like rhythm of my body just chill a little. And so I mean I know travel fuels my soul, but I'm not making time for it. Even if I break hours off or whatever, I would recommend anyone listening to this, put the dates in your calendar. It doesn't need to be a month in I'm going to Europe and Asia. It doesn't have to be this crazy thing. You don't have to spend the kind of money I'm going to spend. You don't have to live the kind of life that I live. You don't have to do any of these things. But like maybe you and your partner just need to get realigned, and so you pick 5 days 6 months from now and you figure it out. And if you have to save money, you save the money to do it. But COVID taught me a really big lesson in the sense of, like, we just don't know. And I don't mean health, okay? Like, I was never scared of COVID. I never thought I was going to drop dead. Like, I never thought any of this stuff. I thought it was all crazy. But what I did think and realized is, like, there were times that I said, I'll see you later to someone literally in Germany. And it took 2 years for me to see his face again. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Right? Like, or I'd say, I'll, whatever, we'll go next week to that restaurant. Well, then that restaurant is closed because the business owner couldn't keep it open anymore. You're never going back to the restaurant, right? Yeah. Or, the plane, anything, the planes, the trips, the whatever. And now you're dealing with, I don't even care about inflation, make more money. But like normal people care about inflation, I guess. Like all this stuff. And I just realized like, I'm just going to start living the way I want to live. And so there's people who are a little irritated with me. I'm shifting stuff in my calendar to where, all right, I'm really good on these hours. These are the hours of the day that I want to work because my energy and my stress levels and whatever is not good at 8 o'clock at night. I don't want to be doing calls, and it's pissing people off, and it's whatever, but I know I only feel anything about it because that's shame coming back in. So what are the things where you're like, I need to learn how to chill and do this, and say yes. And the whole point of me bringing up shame is like, say yes to the stuff that makes you feel good. Not the stuff that your friend is like, oh, I think you might really like if you go buy this pair of shoes, or I think you might really like if you take this trip to whatever. Like, what is the trip you want to go on? Go on that trip. Where is the place you want to go? What is the bag you want to have? What is the car you want to drive? If you're perfectly happy in a Toyota Corolla, we don't relate, but I'm happy for you. Go spend your money on whatever else it is. Maybe it's a watch you want. Maybe it's restaurants you like to go to. Maybe it's a nice cocktail. Maybe, I don't care. But start doing the stuff that you're like, yes, that makes me feel so good. And for me, it really is travel. So that's the one thing I've been spending a lot of time and money, quite frankly, lately on just, you know what, like, you really do live once. And some of us are out there living like we live twice. So
that's awesome.
That's, I guess, how I'm handling that.
I like it. Let's shift gears for a second.
Sure.
What's your obsession with with cars? Because you got a badass collection.
Yeah.
How many you got right now?
Still have 4. Okay. And then I've got this dealership down here, so I can, always do whatever. But I don't know. I know part of it is the sound. Yeah. I don't know. And I think some of it is just maybe a little bit of the ego thing. I don't know. But I like how people look at me when I get out of these supercars. And I mean... And I purposely people go, why do you put your Instagram on the side of them? That's a $400,000 car. I'm like, because I don't want anyone to say who's her husband. And I don't want anyone to say, oh, that's her man's car. I ain't got no man. That's my car. Yeah. That's mine. I pay for that, right?
Yeah, you've done the work.
And I don't know, like, it's just, I don't pretend to be, perfect or Mother Teresa or Gandhi or any of these peaceful people. I like it. I like how I feel when I'm driving it. I like spending the money on it simply because when I spend a lot of money on stuff, you can ask her. I'll be like, we got to make more money. Yeah. Like, we're not making enough money. She's like, what are you talking about? Because she's got an idea, like, she's like, you are making plenty. And I'm just like, no, like, the grind cannot stop. We have to make more because I'm going to spend 100,000 here. I'm going to spend 200,000 here. I'm going to spend 300,000 here. I've got to deploy all the money. Like, I'm always looking for deals. I'm always looking for whatever. And so I think a lot of it is also, it's like when you spend on something that you love, it feels good. I would see these cars drive by and I just thought they were pretty and loud and like, I think it's, okay, this will sound weird, but it reminds me of statues in a totally different way. Okay. Like, I used to watch people drive down the tollway in their McLarens, Ferraris, Lambos, whatever. I got friends with Bugattis and I'm like, damn, what did they have to do to have that car? Because you don't wake up one day
it's not magically sitting in your garage
or whatever. Yeah. You don't. This whole I'm all about visualization, but man, I think people went a little cuckoo with this manifestation stuff. I love praying. I love God. I'm a God-fearing woman. I don't think that if I go there and go, Jesus, tomorrow I want a McLaren. It's not showing up. He's gonna go get to work. Like it doesn't work like that. Like I'm very much so in the like hustle and flow mentality. Like I like the flow and I like the hustle. Yeah. But I used to say like, oh, like God, what did they do? How do they not care? Like the real flex these days isn't the watches. It's driving down the tollway in a supercar getting 7 miles a gallon. Like that. Those are really flexing, right?
Yeah, not looking at the gas pump.
Yeah. But I think about that when I see statues, and so. Like I said, I travel a lot. I do Europe a lot. Yeah. And so that we don't really have that many statues here in America, like unless you go to DC, which is actually the area of the country I'm from. But we don't you're not going to drive down the tollway and see, whatever on the side of the highway. But every time I travel, I stop and I read and I look, even if it's someone's statue I don't recognize. Because whether you know their name or not, that person did something.
They did.
That person had a lot of knives in their back. That person had a whole bunch of haters. That person had people screaming at them, telling them they were crazy, but they were sure about who they were.
Yep.
Like I think about Socrates sometimes. I don't know what this route is I'm going right now, but whatever, we're going to flow with it. Like Socrates believed so much in who he was, and people told him he was crazy, and he was just trying to gain wisdom from people. That's why he spent all this time in Athens just interviewing people constantly. This is what Socrates did. And Socrates died by choice from poison he knew he was drinking because he wanted to die with what he knew was true in his heart. Like those are the people that people make statues about. They don't make statues about people who, you know, oh, I'm going to try. Oh, somebody laughed at me. I'm done. Like they don't build huge structures. You know, if you ever get a chance to go to London, it's like Churchill's statue is like the size of this building. I mean, not quite, but I mean, it is huge. It's not life size. It's larger than life, right? And then you're walking down here and you see, you know, Queen Elizabeth's mother. So like the mother and the father. You see this royal family. You see all these people, and then you see people that people don't like them, you know, but they've got statues because they stood for something. Yeah. So I see it's the same thing I think with cars. Is it's like it's different.
It's your mini version of a statue.
Yeah, it's like what did you do to get that? Because you can't wish for a car like that, and you can't have hope for a car like that. You have to work your ass off, and you have to you see the haters, you hear the haters, you're not stupid. Yep. But you use that to fuel you instead of say, oh, I know I have this purpose and this passion and this vision of what, you know, God put in my heart for my life, but I'm just going to say no to that because I don't like that people don't like me. Yeah. Like people like you, people like me, people that listen to a podcast like this, like people are not going to like what you have to say. Especially right now, I've never seen our country so divided. I'm not that old, but holy hell. Like, people aren't going to like you, but stand for something or literally fall for everything. Yeah. That's all there is to it. So I guess that's my car thing. I don't know.
I like it. You put some real thought into it. It's what it sounds like to me. Yeah. You know, it makes you feel good. Why not fucking do it? Yeah. You know, I like it a lot. How many businesses in total you have outside of network marketing?
I think I'm at 14 now.
Okay.
And then I just invested in another one yesterday.
Congratulations.
So thank you.
I like it. So let me, assuming here, you go in, network marketing is the main thing, keep the main thing the main thing. Yes. The main thing produces money, extra money, and then you take some extra money and invest into these other businesses.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Network marketing is my big cash flow. So it's been a consistent $500,000 plus a month. No income claims. Anyone listening, I'm a freaking psycho. As you've heard for the last half hour. But I've used that to cash flow into everything. And I learned, and back to kind of like you had to lose, you know, your business when you were 20, when you were in your early 20s. Same kind of concept. In 2017, I was a kid, you know, I was still a kid making over $200,000 a month, and I thought that I ruled the world. Yeah, and it was my only stream of income. Now I was living off of like $8,000 a month. So I mean, I had plenty of money saved, but money sitting in your bank account is not intelligent. Okay, no. So I had all this money in my bank account. I get terminated from this. It was this big crazy thing. I have to sue the company. I win. There's a big settlement, like whatever. But in the process of all of this, it was very eye-opening that the only reason I had even stayed in that company for as long as I had was because I was golden handcuffed. So it was like I'm making $200,000 a month. I'm on top of the world. I'm on all these stages. Like people are starting to know my name, all this stuff. But I couldn't leave because I had no other income. When I started making like hardly anything really because I had so much saved. But when I started making, I don't know, $30,000 a month, you know, a month later or whatever, when I started another network marketing company, I tell you what, I was like, where are we putting this? I'm never doing this again. Like, I'm never getting bullied again. I'm never getting shoved around again. I'm never letting a company tell me that they told me I like dressed inappropriately because I like leather and lace a lot. Like, I wear a lot of black, you know? Very on brand, right? But not today, but whatever. They were like, you know, she's this, she's too loud, she does too much social media. Like, all this stuff, they just didn't like, quite frankly, who I was as a person, which is fine. It's their prerogative. It's their company. Yeah. But never again was I going to try to, was I going to dim my light to fit in.
They wound up pissing you off. You being hard-headed type A personality said, fuck off. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to go do. Yeah. You sound a lot like me, by the way. And then you went off and you went to work for probably one of their competitors or something very similar. And this is just my assumption here.
Yeah, it was nothing health and wellness,
and then you went out and you probably produced 10 times more than what you produced for that company. Yep. Yeah. That's the...
Exploded. You know, every single person who did me wrong in that company, every single one at this point has apologized. Yeah. It's like, I'm so sorry. We set you up. I'm like, hey, I know.
Cool. I appreciate it.
And it helped me.
Yeah.
And just kind of on that, like I'm not here anymore, obviously, what I'm about to say, but for the first at least 2 years, so 2018, 2019, I was building out of anger. And I don't always think that's bad.
No, I agree with you, because right there is a different level of fuel that gets dropped into your veins, and you're just in go mode, and you're just making
like
shit happen.
I'm still a savage, but I'm like a nice, gentle savage now. There was like, you could have done anything to me, and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
You know, I was so focused on proving them wrong. I was so focused on winning. I was so focused on, it does not matter the obstacle, nothing is going to stop me. And it's the same now, but it's different. You know, when some, like the haters I really love, like there's no other way to say it, because it's the only reminder at this point, just because most people love me.
Yeah.
You know, most people are like, she's way cooler than I thought. Oh, and she's nice. She's just like this business badass, and then she turns super soft and feminine, you know? Like, yeah, very similar for you.
Not for me. I'm just saying my experience with you.
With you. That's right. Okay, I was like, what? But I mean, it's probably the same with you sometimes, right? Like,
So there's a running joke here in the office. It's called RTF, Resting Thomas Face.
Okay, so you do have one of these.
Everyone thinks I'm an angry asshole 24/7.
Yeah, but you're not.
I'm not. I'm a quiet person when you first meet me. I'm different than Ryan, different than you. I'm more of an observer before I open my mouth.
Sure.
So, you know, I'm of the adage of, hey, 2 ears, 1 mouth. I'm going to listen. I'm going to watch, and I'm going to take everything the fuck in. And if I do speak, it's only because I have something important to say.
Yeah.
Right. And the more that I get to know you and the more we interact, the more that I'm going to just be me.
Yeah.
But that's worked pretty well for me over time. And, but it also, everyone's like, oh, you know, you just look like you're a bouncer all the time. You're going to go fuck somebody up. And I'm like, I wouldn't go.
You're also like a large man, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like this tiny girl. So.
I get it. But it's a running joke in here. It's RTF, Resting Thomas Face.
I like that. Yeah. I try to be smiling. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I had very aggressive, just get out of my way energy for a long time there. But oh yeah, like that. I like the haters now for many reasons, but a lot of it is really that. It's like, it reminds me, like, okay, even though I'm very well loved, there are still people that misunderstand me. Yeah. And it is my job to prove all of them wrong. So
I get it. You're talking about haters. Let's pivot here. Let's talk about social media, because I'm sure that's where you get most of your haters.
No, that's where you get all of your haters. Because haters don't exist in real life.
That's true.
No, I'm very, like, people need to know this.
Yeah.
Because I think people, they think that they're going to go somewhere and they're going to get the kind of comments they get on their social. They don't exist in real life. Yeah. They literally hate themselves. They sit at home, probably like eating a bag of Cheetos. I don't know. Okay. And like not well showered. Yeah. Like I have this
mom's basement.
Yeah. Like I have like this image of what I think they all look like, you know, like Cartman, like there's like an episode of South Park where he's like just eating everything. They're playing video games. I don't know. Like I really feel like that's what they look like. I mean, maybe not, but that's where I am mentally with it. They're these miserable humans that you have to have compassion for, because there is something so miserably wrong in their life that their entire life or career or whatever is spent bashing people that they envy and they claim not to envy on the internet. Like there's something wrong with them. But in person, oh no, baby, they don't exist. You will never go somewhere, never, and have some, I mean, you can mark my words. Y'all can DM me if I'm wrong, but they are not going to come up to you and go, fuck you, Thomas. Nope. You did it.
No, never.
No way. They're too busy eating Cheetos.
It's true. It's so
But
true.
anyway, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's cool. It's good lessons there. I've experienced that too. It's like, hey, people have no problem being the keyboard warrior, but when it comes time to that face-to-face interaction, it's all hunky-dory. Oh, hey, how you doing? Like, oh, fuck you. Don't think I don't remember? I don't forget shit. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I don't forget a goddamn thing.
Yeah, me either.
I may play dumb. I may make believe like I forget, but trust me.
Yeah, I'll smile. Sure,
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Or I'll just give you RTF.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I don't have that. So, especially since I got these teeth done, all I do is smile, man. I don't know.
It's awesome. So, social media.
Yep.
You have a massive following on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite and why?
Instagram is probably my favorite. I just like it because I think you get a good balance of my lifestyle, my personality, and mostly my business. So there's this really good blend of, okay, so she's super cool and she's got like fun stuff, but then, oh, she's really smart. It's the only platform I figured out really how to do all that on. TikTok is just fun. But it's like, I'm like a hood rat over there. So it's like basically like, you know, like I'm doing funny trends or like being a little out there or whatever. I just really use TikTok more so to create brand awareness. And then I have this hired out, but I do have someone who runs a Bossly Biz TikTok page, which is just clip of, you know, stuff like this as an example, right? And that's been really powerful too. That's built the brand a lot, but I don't like get enjoyment out of TikTok the way people do. And as a side note, I don't consume content. So like if I know anything going on in your life, like I knew about your wife, I know about, like, I know the church you go to, I know like stuff like this, right? It's literally because if I open Instagram and you are my first post, then I know.
Yeah.
But I don't scroll because if I scroll, it gets crazy.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. That's about it. I mean, I'm on all of them, but I think Instagram takes the cake right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because my Instagram has great interaction and I get tons of messages and I can see who the person is and all of that. But I like Instagram.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What does an average day look like for you on Instagram? Do you have a template or a specific cadence that you follow when it comes to posting?
Yeah, so currently I'm in like a weird Instagram jail ban thing. So because
you
usually
too?
live video. Oh, good, great. So usually live video is part of this.
Yeah.
Mine's funny though. So mine, I'm currently in I don't know how long it's gonna last for. I would like to get out. Please, Zuckerberg, let me out. But it's because I went against community guidelines. All I did was somebody tagged me on the Ferrari truck that's coming out next year. And I have the Lambo truck, right? And the Ferrari truck is ugly. So I commented the word ugly. Like they tagged me. I'm Boss Lee. Like, look at this Ferrari truck. It's coming out next year. I wrote ugly.
Yeah.
Boom, community guidelines. Boom, you can't go live. Boom, protect our community. I'm like, what? I don't think Ferrari felt bullied by me. But anyway, so...
Gotta love it.
Actually, that's a really good story. You probably know this, but the reason that Lamborghini exists was because Ferrari. You know the story. So Ferrari literally, they had a big fight or whatever. And
Lamborghini was actually a tractor builder in Italy,
See, of course you know.
and Ferrari came and basically told him, you know, fuck off. What do you know? You're a tractor builder, and he said, okay, well, fuck you, and came back a couple months, if not a year later, and said, look at this
Built a better
immaculate.
supercar.
Yeah.
Yep. So maybe that's why I'm a Lambo girl because I like the story, but I like the little underdog. You know, people hating people, whatever thing, but. So anyway, I love that you knew that. Of course you knew that car background, but yeah. So usually it's the same flow of video. Like every day I have a minimum amount of posts. Like there has to be a photo and there has to be a like a photo with carousels and there has to be a reel. Sometimes I do 2 reels a day, and these are easy. So these are all repurposed content. You can just repurpose it yourself by just downloading them and taking the watermark off. Or there's a really good app, repurpose.io. I don't know how long it'll stay relevant for. Maybe it'll go out, but it's relevant right now. And you can repurpose directly onto Instagram as well. So if something goes...
So you're taking something from like TikTok, you're taking the watermark off of TikTok and then putting
on the
it to
Bossly
Reels?
Biz TikTok.
Okay.
So those are, so when something goes viral on my Bossly Biz TikTok, something, maybe I'm delivering a culture speech, doesn't matter what the speech is, but if there's like a 30-second clip, 15-second clip, minute-long clip or whatever on TikTok that maybe has, like last week one went properly viral, 1 million views. I'm like, woof, repurpose that for sure on my Instagram. Just to remind people, hey, there's business here too. And I like to do ones that are very business related, but also personality. So I'll follow the trends. So every day there's always a reel, there's always a post. And then every day I always go live at least once. Now I can't right now. And then people overthink content. Everything is content. So people go, how do you have all this time for your stories? And I'm like, I'm literally the most present person. Like people think, oh, she must live on her phone all the time. I could, but there's no need if you're not actually consuming the content. This goes back to this. If I'm posting, yeah. And then look, virtual assistant teams are everything. Okay, so if you don't have if you have a sizable business of any kind and you're not having a virtual assistant, maybe reach out to profiles that are in your niche and they're commenting on stuff. You're missing the boat there. Responding back to some stuff. You're missing the boat for sure. Responding to comments. And I read all my comments, by the way. Also, this is really important because people will literally show you and tell you what kind of content you should post more of. So even if I have somebody commenting back to people's comments, I am reading every single one. This is super important to scaling your social media. But yeah, that's basically my Instagram flow. It doesn't take anywhere near as much time as people think it does. The time really is, and the time suck, and people really get sucked into social media, and it's only going to get worse because people are starting to learn, or businesses are starting to learn even more with psychology because they're getting more and more data on you.
So one of the biggest things that we face over here, one of the things is, hey, start posting every damn day, minimum one post a day on the social media platform where you think that your target client is going to live.
Yeah.
And people kick back on that hard. Oh my God, I don't know what to post. What's everyone going to think about me? And then, people start, it's funny, the transition just happens. So then people sometimes I say, not everyone, overcome that hurdle. They start posting. And the thing that I see most frequently is people start posting stuff that's inspirational. They tell a story. The methodology that we teach is E3, right? So have the experience, extract a lesson, educate or entertain the audience, right? That's the plan to writing out your long format style post. They go in there and they start doing it, and a lot of it's motivational. They'll pull a good lesson out of something that happened and turn it into a positive thing. And then the friends and the family, the haters start coming out and they start, who the fuck do you think you are, Tony Robbins? And the people go one of two ways. They either say, well, fuck you, and they continue going on and getting it done. And some of them wind up, becoming an influencer or having more influence than the average Joe who's on social media just consuming content. Or it locks them up dead and they just stop altogether and give up on everything.
Which is more common, I'm sure.
Which is way more common. So what do you suggest to those who are struggling with basically having the balls to go out there and post content?
So, stop thinking everyone's going to like you, okay? This is not even just social media. This is just entrepreneurship. You're going to have a lot of people who love you, and you're going to have a lot of people who don't. But your goal is not to have everybody like you. Your goal is to find the people that are your people. So when people are like, you're so out there and bold, and like you're talking about this and that, and oh my God. I literally don't care if you don't like me, because there are literally millions of people who are like, that's my girl. Right? But if you're trying to cater to all these other people, you're never going to find your people, because you're just being this dulled down, diluted version of yourself. Yeah. I would say just get in the routine and detach completely from the outcome. Okay. Like, you have to just post. You have to just put yourself out there. And I would say don't try so hard. You can tell when someone's just trying too hard. I like the talk to text. I teach this a lot. I'm like, use the talk to text feature on your phone, because then you can just speak to the phone. You can write your story literally with your, your voice to text or whatever. You don't have to be a great typist or whatever, because people overthink this kind of stuff. Time. And like I said, everything's content. Everything's content. Okay. Think about it though, when you're posting a picture of your llama or whatever the hell, like, look at my bunny rabbit. How is that going to help you convert? Like, come on. Okay. No. But overall, like, we said this earlier, but learn something and then teach something. If you learn, you teach. You learn, you teach. You learn, you teach. If you keep repeating that, then you're going to inadvertently educate. You're going to accidentally come across people who are like, oh, I like your message. Yeah. But if it's scaring you, good. I got a weird story, but I've told it like twice this week. I got to tell it again, because it's so freaking good and it's so relevant, and I don't want to ever forget this because it was such a good story. So I was at this mastermind this last weekend, and somebody was saying, oh, I saw that you took 24 people to the Dominican Republic. And then they were like, oh, did you pay for that? I said, yeah, like they were some of my top performers. It was an incentive trip, blah, 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 blah. He's like, oh, it's so cool. The food looked really good. I was like, the food was bomb. Like, I mean, we did like, oh my gosh. Like I said, like, no, I don't want any American food. I want the chef to come in and do the whole thing, right? The guy goes, I like the paella. I saw a story of paella in your story, and I was like, damn. Like, yeah, it was so good. And then I just thought we were having a conversation about food. But like, I quickly realized we were not talking about food. Because high-level business people are never really talking about food or anything. We're all talking about business, because our whole lives, just the way our brains are wired, right? And I said, yeah, it was so weird, because there was this incredible, like every meal was incredible, but it wasn't your American food. And like half the people got up and left and got burgers and chicken tenders after every meal. Like they never ate. They got up from the table and went. And this guy's literally eating dinner at this mastermind, and he's got, like $400 million business, and he looks up and he goes, huh? I said, yeah, like they left. They went and got he goes, allergies? I said, no, there were no allergies. Like we checked for food allergies. They're like, oh, they just didn't like it. They didn't want to try it. I said, yeah, I guess. He goes, did you tell them to eat the paella? I'm like, yes. He goes, okay. Stop coaching them. I'm like, what? He goes, stop coaching them. Stop trying to mentor them. Stop talking to those people. And I'm like, these are top performers, man. What are you talking about? Yeah, and he's like, if they are doing that with something you directly told them to do, that is exactly what they're doing in their business. You're giving them this exact coaching structure. Do this social media post. Do this live video. Do this E3 structure you're talking about. Do this, do this, do this. And they're going, I like that. I don't like that. I like that. I don't like that. I like that. I don't like that. I like that. You're changing the entire recipe.
Yeah.
The whole recipe.
Yeah, we have the recipe figured out.
Yeah, if you're spending money on trying to learn how to do social media and someone who has hundreds of thousands of followers is telling you, like I'm talking about Ryan right now, is telling you, this is the structure, man. This is the proven formula.
Yeah.
It's like a pumpkin pie. If you don't like paella, fine, pumpkin pie. Like, you don't put extra salt in the pumpkin pie because you usually like salt. You put the right sugar.
Yep.
You know, like you put the right ingredients. Otherwise, your whole pie's screwed up and nobody's eating it. Well, that's what's happening to a bunch of you on social media is you're going, I like this, I don't. This makes me uncomfortable. Well, okay. Do you like the life you live?
Yeah.
I heard something also like recently. I don't know. I personally develop a lot. If you make $500,000 a year, you're in the 1% of the world. And I was like, yeah, okay. And there was a room of high-level entrepreneurs. He's like, so every single one of you is in the 1% of the world. He goes, isn't it interesting that the rest of the 99% is constantly listening to the 99% for advice when they don't know what the fuck they're talking about? And I went, oh my God. Ole Toledo. I was like, that's so brutal. Like, it's kind of brutal. It's kind of like whatever. But I say stuff like this and I tell stories like this because I want people to start thinking. Like, what are the things that your coach, your mentor, your program you're part of, your education system, your whatever, has told you to do and you are not doing it? And then you are wondering and getting pissed off or blaming because why did you have the same education as all these other people? Same two people come in, same amount of followers. One does it, one doesn't. One explodes, one doesn't. The problem was you, my friend.
Yeah. We see it over and over again. Over and over again.
You always will. They don't want to hear this. It's not going to
No,
listen to the
they won't
podcast
hear
anyway. It. The winners are listening. The other people are over there crying in corners, talking, taking no accountability for their life. But, whatever.
So, accountability.
Sure.
How do you hold your top people accountable?
I like assignments and I like challenges.
Okay.
I also like incentives a lot. So
dive in.
If you come to me with a question, I respond with an assignment. So instead of just spoon feeding you the answer or whatever else, no problem, Thomas. What I need you to do though really fast, I need you to close 2 deals. Come right back to me. I got the answer for you, and that's done. And it could be a social media thing too. Same thing with challenges. Maybe that's a longer thing. So it's like, sure, well then I'm going to challenge you this month. Have your best month ever. When you have your best month ever, I'd like to do blah, blah, blah for you. And then I'm constantly educating, I'm constantly coaching, I'm being real with them. I show my vulnerabilities. I tell them when I'm screwing up. I'm not trying to be a perfect person. And I think if you let the guard down sometimes and you have those conversations with people, they really trust you. They love you. They want to build with you. They're like, oh, she's human. He's human. And I will never tell somebody to do something I won't do. Yeah. And that, it seems to be a dying thing in leadership these days. It's like people want to be the dictator. The only reason I got into Instagram Reels, which has exploded my Instagram, quite frankly, was because I knew Instagram Reels worked. And all I said was, I was like, guys, I think you need to do a 30-day Reels challenge. And they were like, are you going to do it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'll do it with you. And I did it, and it blew up everything. Then I've just been talking about this week, but like 6 weeks ago, I did a coaching thing with, 8 people, 10 people. And I said, Facebook Reels is going crazy. We've got to start using Facebook Reels. And I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to outsource it, but it's got to get done. And I said, I'm going to challenge all of you to do 3 Facebook Reels a day. And they were like, oh, damn, okay. And, and it's annoying because it's like 200 views, 400 views, 1,000 views. You're like, damn, I hate these things. I don't even want you guys to look at the numbers, right? I just want you to commit to posting, commit to posting, commit to posting. And I kept telling them in this chat, like, I'm doing it, got my 3 done, got my 3 done, got my 3 done, got my 3 done, got my 3 done. Over and over and over again. I even connected them to virtual assistants to help them and whatever else. But I told him, I got on the call yesterday and I said, hey, last like 10 days, I have 20,000 new followers on Facebook from the Reels. And I'm not posting about products. I'm not posting trending anything. I'm not dancing. It's all business Facebook Reels. So the people following me are business owners. You would not hit follow if you're not a business owner. Yeah. I'm like, I want you to think about the power of that, right? And that's just in like 7 days, but it's a compound effect. So, but it's all assignments, it's all challenges. And then I love incentives. And maybe that's because I have this red driver personality where I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna win. But I like contests. I like saying, hey, we're gonna go on a trip. Like I already announced Colombia for January. I said, hey, I'm taking, 30 people to Colombia. Here's what you need to do. If you don't do it, then you're not going. If you do it, we're going. First 30 or whatever. But it can be little stuff too. My first incentive I ever did, because I know everybody's business is a different size. People are like, damn, she's taking, no, you don't have to start with freaking Colombia. Okay. Sure. But my first incentive I ever did was 11 and a half years ago. And I had a leader in the company who told me I was crazy. And because she's like, mathematically, this doesn't make sense. Your bonus check is like $400 a month right now. Like, this doesn't make any sense. You're doing it. And I ran a contest for a Tiffany's bracelet. So maybe if there's a lot of men listening, you do Tiffany's, cuffs on your thing or whatever. Or it could be anything. It doesn't matter. And she said, that doesn't make sense. That's $225. And I said, but if I will only have to buy it if enough people hit this incentive.
And if people hit that incentive,
then it drives the whole bottom line.
Yeah, bingo.
And so she didn't get it because, again, I'm running network marketing like a business owner and not like whatever. I'm forecasting like, invest now, reap the rewards later.
Right.
Your harvest season is way down the road. And it worked. It worked a big time. And when I got to spend that, it wasn't, and then by the time the incentive's done, it wasn't a $400 check. It's like, damn, look at this, is starting to compound. And so I've always believed in that. And I think incentives are also a great way to find those top performers, to your point. Sure, there's people who are like, I'm motivated by charity and by having fun. And yes. But the drivers scale the business. And even if the drivers don't care, like you could run a contest for the duct tape in there on the wall. I don't know what duct tape's doing in there, but that's fine. Like, I'm going to win. Not because I need duct tape. I don't know what to do with that. But it's the principle. And so if you start doing contests and stuff like that, everyone holds each other accountable. I like accountability partners a lot too. Just little stuff like that.
You ever read The Dream Manager?
Yes.
Yeah. You implement any of that or any version of your own in the company?
So I read The Dream. I actually got to work with him like 10 years ago. So I mean, the only thing I could say is it's probably brainwashed inside of me at this point. I couldn't regurgitate any of it to you anymore, but he worked with us in a company that I was part of over a decade ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like it. Yeah. If anyone's listening, go read the book. You probably sit down and read that book in a day, but it's a cool story. And if you implement that into your life, implement that into your business, in my experience, you wind up opening up or unlocking a level of reciprocity from your team that is like unheard of. Yeah. Because you help them get what they want as a personal goal.
Well, that's Zig Ziglar, right? As well, he always says, you'll get everything you want in life if you help enough people get what they want.
Yep. I got one final question for you.
Sure.
And then we'll wrap this up because I had you in here close to an hour already.
Wow.
But
fast.
Yeah, it did. So sitting here, for those watching on video, you can't really tell, but you're heavily tattooed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What was the inspiration? Why did you go with that? And the entire leg is done. Not just a part of it, your entire fucking leg. I mean, here I am, I got my entire arm done.
I'll be done. That'll be done sometime in the, we'll see. I got half of it, but yeah. So my leg is actually a tribute tattoo for my Nana. So I'm Hawaiian, Portuguese and Hawaiian are like why I've got good color and whatever else, but she raised me. So I kind of mentioned her earlier, and she didn't particularly like tattoos, but she raised us on Hawaiian culture. So she's a God-fearing Christian woman, but she would tell us the stories of the Hawaiian gods and goddesses and whatever else my entire childhood. And it was just one of those things that kind of like, just when you're in such a tumultuous, crazy childhood, it's like it was an escapism. She'd tell me the stories. And I'm like, wow, like I'd feel like I was there. And so she passed away actually July 16th, 2017. So it's coming up. And I'll just say really fast, entrepreneur, like if you have an entrepreneurial bone in your body, please just go in with everything you have in your business. Like, but fuck all of your excuses. Because thank God I was already at a point in my business in 2017 when she got sent to hospice care that I was actually in Nicaragua on one of these incentive trips. And I had spent all this money, and I think I had like 15 people with me. And I got the text message, if you want to be able to say goodbye to Nana, you have to get back to Maryland. I don't know where you are. It's from an aunt of mine. And I look at the text and I'm like, oh my God. And I said, I literally like threw money at these people. I'm like, here's all the money for all the excursions, for everything. Like everything's done. Like everything else is paid for. The chef is already here. Like everything's done. Like I already paid for the house, like whatever. I was like, I have to go. I have to go on the next flight.
Yeah, now.
And the next flight back to Maryland from Nicaragua was a 2-stop layover. I don't do layovers. Okay, so it was like a crazy 2-stop layover to get back there. And I got to spend the 4 days before she passed with her, even when she was still slightly cognitive. I was the only person she remembered. And then as she faded and she passed away in my arms. The woman who raised me. Okay, and like I've never been so devastated by anything in my life. But I will also tell you, if I had not built the business I had, I'd be like so many millions of people who literally go, my mom, that's my mom, you know, like my mom's dying and I can't get to her. Or my best friend just died and I can't go to her funeral. And I got to provide her with everything I could because I had the resources because of my entrepreneurial journey. So stop fucking around with your life and in your business and just get to work. Like it drives me crazy people do that. But so literally the day she passed away, I knew that I wanted to do a tribute tattoo for her. Yeah. It was always like in the works, but I knew she'd be like, Jessie Lee, like, what are you doing? When she was alive. So, so I found this artist that I was obsessed with in Vegas, and he had like a 9-month wait list. Now it's like 2 years. He's like one of those stupid famous tattoo artists. Yeah. But we started with my favorite goddess, who's Pele, the goddess of fire. Shocker. She used to say, "Oh, little Pele," you know, because I've always been a little fiery, and then so everything's that, and then So
how long did that take?
That is 77 hours.
Okay.
So it wasn't that bad, except for
get the fuck out of here.
My ankle was really bad.
Yeah, listen.
Okay.
You're talking to someone who's got some artwork done.
Well, you're a man. Men have low pain tolerances. I think women are a little bit different when it comes to pain.
Probably. But I saw some spots and I was just like, no one's coming near me with a tattoo needle.
Yeah.
In that area of my body.
I warn everyone, the ankle will feel like your whole body is rattling. It's pretty awful. But overall, I mean, I fell asleep a couple places, so I don't know what that says about me, but whatever. But yeah, so, and I love that, you know, people don't care as much anymore. I think we're like a generation away from college being like a joke. You know, people are going to stop going to college if they're not already, unless you're like a physician, a surgeon or a whatever. And I think people are starting to see like, it's literally just art. So you can like it or you don't have to like it. I don't hire people based off of their tattoos or their hair color or their whatever. I hire people because of their cultural values and because of their brains. Yeah,
same deal here. I got a dude in there with green hair.
Perfect.
Shows up every damn day and works his ass off.
Yep.
You know, and then half of us are covered in tattoos as well.
What is professionalism anymore?
Oh yeah. They don't like us very much here in this building because we don't dress like Jake from State Farm. Oh. We show up wearing, you know, jeans and black t-shirts.
You guys are lacking khakis around here. That's true. I've noticed. I was going to say something. The dress code is... No, I'm kidding. I definitely know the Stuman dress code at this point, yeah.
Yeah, it's well known. Yes. So let's wrap this up. Let's tell the audience if they want to connect with you, learn more about the network marketing business. And by the way, you're selling ketones, correct?
Yeah, I sell ketones.
Yeah. If they want to learn more about it, connect with you, follow you on the socials, where can they do so?
Yeah, sure. I'm also, this is like the softest soft launch ever because it's not available yet, but I do have an actual education community coming out. It's soft launching August 15th. So it's just going to be entrepreneurial school. So it'll be every week. There'll be an hour-long live, so that's super cool. So even if you have no interest in network marketing, awesome. I can teach entrepreneurship all day. But I'm Boss Lee on all platforms, so that's everywhere. Jessie Lee Ward is my name, so you can find me too. And then I'm everywhere. So my podcast is the People's Mentor Podcast, but then everything else is social media. So
love it.
Super easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in here today and making us work. We had to pivot and make schedules work,
it's all good, you know.
It's awesome.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Awesome talking to you. Appreciate
Likewise.
your time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. Make sure you head over to stepitupentrepreneur.com and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast.